Hey guys, this is me and Chris. George is a little busy this morning, so he can't join us. And Chris recently played a 5 Dan, which is pretty easy for him to do, extremely easy for him to do. And I found I had a bunch of questions, and I thought maybe others had questions. So here we are, and I will be asking him questions. Okay, so we're the white stones. Things are moving along. Oh, so with this one, A is the thick way. B is the, I don't want to use the word thin. I want to use a word like normal.
Yeah, it's like a little bit faster, but a little bit less secure.
Yeah. So is it a matter of, I know AI loves the long extensions. Now,
It's preference, general overall strategy. I've seen AI do both.
okay.
So
Now, I've seen you at times purposely not play this one because white's going to have extra forcing moves. And you decide, no, I do not want him to have forcing moves. Would you explain that to me again?
yeah,
And use control if necessary.
it's usually in other contexts, like if there's going to be some fight going on the bottom and I haven't enclosed yet. Like let's say, for example, we get some fighting shape, something like this. I might prefer to have A over B.
So white doesn't get free stuff to help himself.
Yeah, like white can still play something like this, but it doesn't have any forcing impact. Whereas if the stone is one farther and white comes down, if I try to attack, white has a much easier dodge.
Yeah.
So it's impactful the bottom side with fighting like this, but also when white eventually breaks the right hand side somehow, you don't really want white to have like a good attack either. So one of the common placements against the two space is this move, which is peeking inside the corner at A, B, and C. And that move is a little bit harder for white to use in a situation like this, because now when black ignores it, white doesn't have a clean way to connect underneath anymore, or any easy time living in the corner either, right? We can see like this one is not alive for white. White would have to do something like this. And the overall result is this thick black group that white is kind of stuck up against, and white is not super comfortable. So it's just about removing free things. It gives you a lot more control for fighting in area 1 and area 2.
Okay.
Whereas the long one is more looking for development and trading throughout the game. It's less interested in fighting hard.
Okay. Regular stuff. Here, white has the option to play the complex variation.
Yeah, white can extend. It's fairly rare when black hasn't exchanged b6 for b7 to play this way, because the variation is going to be a little bit different.
You have control.
A lot of the cases. Yeah, so the normal flying knife, this exchange is already made, and then black cuts. But a lot of times, if that exchange hasn't been made, black can cut from the outside. And when white is extending or some such, black can actually start this fight with white. So white has to be very, very careful going into this one without the exchange, because the outside fighting condition could be not so good for white. Now in this case, like maybe white handles it, but black is not going to be in much danger in the corner either. We can see just even a simple variation like this, black can live, and it's going to settle with black having that cutting group in the center and white being chased along the left side.
Okay. So it's more like this.
Right. This would be the super complicated one.
Okay. Now, white is the one offering it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been told by professionals, just don't play the complex one. Avoid it.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're black and we want to avoid the complex variation, just we might say that this avoids it.
Yep. We just bump our head. Because if white extends, that variation is already much less complicated than the other one where black has the honey.
Okay. That's going to take me a while to wrap my head around, but that's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So over my many years as Go teacher,
Mm-hmm.
this point of the game is really hard for my students because there's, just a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how to form the question. How does one decide other than personal preference?
Well, I mean, the easiest one is obviously personal preference, but in my case, if I'm not sure, I just like to ask questions, and so that's what I did in this game. I made black juice.
I see. Okay. Now I have seen this a lot in the form of, let's get some clarification so I can move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know that I love Mr. Yang quotes, and he has a quote here where if you don't know where to play, like, well, I don't know, then play your Sente.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden clarity comes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And could we say this asks a question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is another one.
Okay. Now, can't we say that this asks a question? So I'm trying to define this a little more. Anything you can give me?
And N3 is a little less of a question. In my mind, it's not as good a question simply because black is already thick. What's the follow-up? We're not really threatening to harm anything. We're just threatening to steal a little bit of the
So we're talking about
territory.
forcing moves then.
Yeah, and so while the 3/3 can be a forcing move, I'm trying to play something that's also expanding on the strength of my force downs that has a second positive benefit, whereas the 3/3 is going to give the second positive benefit to black. For example, black will likely block. Will likely block this way, and after white settles, somehow black is the one with the continuation benefit, the right hand side.
Okay. So from here, white's marked wall is the question.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do with this wall? Do I finish the Joseki, the corner in the Joseki? Do I do something on the side? Do I simply play away? That's the question. There are no actual questions, A, B, or C.
Mm-hmm.
The wall is the question. Therefore, we ask it here. Okay. Good. Here I had a question. I'm not too familiar with this. I've seen it, 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
But can you walk through black and white choices?
Sure. So realistically, there's only two. There's A and there's B. In very niche situations, there's one and there's two. The situation would be like if the Hane is going to force black to lose a tempo, like for example, like let's say black Hane is at A and white extends. If black has to come back and connect because of some white presence on the right side, then the Hane would be less attractive. We would simply play two. Kind of a similar case for descending and blocking the corner of one. These extensions are a bit submissive to white's attachment, so usually we don't see them. A is really good when black has a desire for control or power towards the right side. Specifically, we see it when black has either a marked stone here or here. So like, for example, if we just doctor up the position a little bit, and let's say white plays F, black goes here, white extends, black plays this one, and then black goes here, we might expect to see black on it this way. Black has substantial work black can do starting from the right-hand side versus the bottom where it's going to be relatively low value. And in the case of Hane below, this one is the local good one for territory, but it's also the one that offers the fighting variation to white. The idea being that white is going to step down with black rather than play an extension. If white extends, black's Hane at the head of 2 shape is quite good. And sort of the same for here, black's extension below sort of questions the integrity of the AB relationship.
Right.
So white is going to block that. And then typically we expect to see black cut and then push.
And we have the fight thing, yeah.
Yeah, and now it's a fighting variation. There's a cut here followed by an extend. Extend is important for liberties. Then black will usually give Atari. White will usually make the one exchange and then block. This is all forcing for white. Black comes back to the corner. And then from here, white makes a choice based on direction of play, typically A or B.
Okay.
These are the 2 shape moves. When white just needs a group existing towards the center and is not concerned about territory for either side locally on the right or the bottom, white will usually play this one. And the main reason being is because after some variation like this, the white 4 stones reduced a significant portion of black's right side potential. And white is clamping down on the black group in the center, and it's moving towards the white wall. So this fight should be good for white.
Okay.
If that wasn't the case for some reason and white needed to block the B direction, white would block the B direction. And the main idea is that there's going to be a cut here. And the cut does involve white sacrificing, but black was already alive in the corner anyway. But then in this sacrifice, we can see white is effectively
extreme
blocked
thickness,
off. Yeah, white is effectively blocked off the side here. And there's some other niche variations that require other stones. We won't get into those, but these are sort of the common ideas from the fighting variation here.
Okay, nice. One of these days, I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to say, "I have no idea." When I was studying with Jujo years ago, I have told you the story, but we're at his house, and I asked him the question. He says, "I know nothing about this," which was funny because he could write books about it. We asked his wife, Ru Wei. She comes. He says, "Ru, do you know about this?" She comes over. She says, "Yes," and she explained it to him. I got the biggest kick out of that relationship and the respect he had for her. And
she was a very, very intimidating woman.
Yeah. But when she's not playing Go, she's the sweetest little petite, huge smile. Oh, it's just a sweet person. She just sits at the Go board and says, "Oh my God," she becomes a thing of iron.
Yeah.
It's terrifying when she's
powerful. Yeah.
Okay. On the bottom right here, I would say black has gained perhaps 4 points from this exchange.
Yeah, roughly. Some small territory.
Instead of having a non-thick wall facing the right, he has a thick wall facing the right. Okay. So 4-ish points, great thickness. White, now this is interesting to me. I tried to phrase this well when I was thinking about it. On the surface, all us amateurs go, "Oh, white got nothing out of it." It's like, well, wait a minute. These 2 white stones in the hands of any reasonable player will be used in the future. It's not they might be. No, they are going to be. There's no question about it. Of course they're going to be used. So now white had Sente and white still has Sente.
Mhm.
Now, I have to admit, it's a little hard for me. I understand it intellectually,
Mhm.
but it's like it's so little value for white. Now,
Mm,
only a little value for black.
well, let's consider the alternative for a second.
You have control if you need it.
So look at how black has expanded this enclosure from the corner. I mean, he hasn't, right? If we compare that to, like, let's say white does something normal like this, and then black is able to go, let's say, to here. All of a sudden, the black bottom right area is looking a lot more intimidating. White has nothing in there. Black has grown substantially from the right side up to the 10th line with this K4 move. And it has quite a bit of value checking the integrity of White's 4 stones. Now, we compare that variation to the one where Black just sort of passively defends the corner, and we can see that these 2 stones have actually achieved something very important.
There you go.
Black can no longer move quickly along the bottom. That access is already blocked by the 2 white stones here, and so that's strengthening the 4 stones from afar. And it's also giving white a launching point to reduce the right side later.
Yeah. Okay, so we can say that black's G stone is strong because it's a regular short shamari, and being on the fourth line likes to grow. So OG loves to grow towards the bottom. So far, does that sound reasonable?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, done. No more wow. So in other words, it's a big effect, not a small one.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Nice.
Worth 4 points and a little bit of extra strength, because I couldn't attack black from the right side anyway.
Yeah.
So how useful is that extra thickness really going to be? Hard to say right now. So I consider these 2 Kikashi to be, well, first of all, they're Kikashi, so they should have some inherent value already. But I consider them to be very light, reducing, sort of forcing moves.
Yeah.
But they're very important moves, I think, for white in the whole board sense, because they have a positive impact on both the bottom left and the right side.
Yeah. So all this being said, if you're black, how would you have responded to this?
I would have played A and gone towards the right side. Or if I did play B, I would have started the fight.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not have answered. I think the connection in the corner was his first sort of slack move of the game. I can't say it's like losing, but
slack doesn't.
Yeah, it feels like these exchanges ended up being quite good for white.
Yeah.
Like white seems very happy to get these incentives. So for me, like every fiber of my being says I really don't want white to have those incentives. White's going to be happy about it.
Okay. Yeah. So we asked a question, what to do with the wall, and you felt that you got the answer, which says, I'd like to continue here.
Yeah, so with this, I was actually looking to switch directions. Because now what I can do is, if he goes for this variation, which would be, trying to go after the bottom side, again, we can see these 2 stones put a bit of a damper on that. Now white has a foothold.
They will limit what black can do there.
Yes, and however, now for white, I got something very positive at the right-hand side of the board.
Oh, yeah.
So my interest was to see if he would fall for the direction of play trap, the strategy trap here, and allow me to dodge to the big area instead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have another question. If we look at the 2 mark stones, I want to change what they are.
Okay.
And now it's black play.
Yeah.
I would be thinking, I'm committed to those stones. They're heavy, they're weak. I'm going to get attacked. I don't like this. But here, oh, I can give one up, I can give both up, I can do anything I want.
Mm-hmm.
Am I seeing this correctly?
Yeah, more or less. It's very expensive to capture stones, so it's usually not in black's best interest to try to capture them directly.
Well, isn't this representing a very large, I mean, just huge area?
Yeah, sure.
While here, it's flexible to move right, left, up,
Mhm.
down, whatever we want.
Yes.
I don't want to dismiss what you were saying, that I'm looking at things that are
Mhm.
fantasy, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Here, I was very surprised he decided to go for this fight. I mean, this is his style, so I guess I shouldn't have been, but he's a big proponent of caveman go.
Okay. So if I want to read Black's mind,
Mm-hmm.
he's thinking if White saves, I must take,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have nothing here.
Correct.
So I need to take to keep my stones useful. Okay,
That's what he's thinking.
that makes sense. Now, seems to me, now that's not exactly true. I play devil's advocate when I ask all these questions. Um, I'd like to say that White's B group is virtually alive because it can capture or escape or anything. It's like I don't see a problem there.
It's safe for now.
Okay. Now we're looking at the C group. With two little black A stones, I cannot see the C group getting in trouble.
Mm.
You disagree?
I think black can run the stones out a lot more effectively if white doesn't jump. I think after the F4 jump, yes, though I don't see the two stones doing much of anything.
F. Okay.
Yeah. Before white jumps, I think they can do a fair bit of damage, but I think without the
Right.
jump, it's or with the jump, it's pretty comfortable for white.
So for White, jump.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm suggesting that the A stones can't do much here.
Right.
What about giving them up?
100% playable. Yeah, a lot of times in this game, if black does commit a move, it's just one jump, and then black plays away, and that's just so black has the option of trying something at the left hand side later.
Okay. So
Yeah,
this is such, the black stones are so difficult. If we make one exchange, now black can play around with.
yeah.
Okay.
Like black, like D10 is a move that black will very often, the left hand side star point. Black will very often play at, threatening to cut white, and also attacking white's eye space a little bit with that left side group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we take on black's perspective here,
Mm-hmm.
we might be thinking our A stones just aren't doing a lot right now. This white's pretty okay everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I like coming in at B because brings white's life into question. I mean, it's a big move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying we're thrilled.
Right.
And then we have the left. I'll just mark it area 1 as awfully big for white.
Mm.
So let me rephrase this. If you're black, how are you going to be thinking about this position?
I think I'm going to ask the question first. Something like this, see how white wants to answer. Use this to figure out the intentions for the left-hand side. Now, this move is pretty easy. It's just looking to cut white. If white sort of goes through like this, then we can see there's some danger.
Okay.
But white can't really escape. And if white goes for the turning war, black can get enough liberties to kill white.
Okay.
So this is the threat, is black is planning to cut. Of course, white can try to fight. Black can carry on, and it can go as it will. White can jump. This will be giving white access to life. But this is a very interesting question for black to ask white. What are you going to do about that cut? If white defends the cut, this is an easy move. We saw this in the game I showed you that I played with my teacher. He answered this way. This will make white alive and uncuttable. Then later in the game, after black has some additional move here, black is going to be able to bridge along the outside, keeping the left side flat, getting the group out to center, trying to do something productive in the middle later. So I might start with the one exchange just to see how white's going to answer, and then I might consider what I think is big from that point. Black really wants to get back to A. Black would really like B. Black would really like C. I find it very difficult for black to find a good next move. Black has to make a real decision, which is why I didn't agree with him going for the fight in the first place. But
I see.
Yeah, it's kind of like starting a fight without having a reason. Black just wants to fight, so he's fighting. That's all he knows how to do. But when you look at it on the board, it's kind of like, okay, but why are you fighting? Like,
a lot of times our main reason for fighting is because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at black, white, black. The question I'm going for is, I'm seeing a lot of thin relationship.
Yep.
All in Goten. I guess white only gets one move away, not two. Okay, if white only gets one move away to wherever, and then black gets some sente, then it becomes worth it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, you made a contact move here.
Yeah.
Is this now on principle? Now, you know me. I play based on principles, proverbs, this kind of stuff. And as the Koreans say, that's stupid. It means nothing. Only the readout means
yeah.
So I don't want to,
Yeah. So this is the meaning behind it is it's just a more active way of defending my cut and putting pressure on his cutting stone to the center.
I see.
Yeah. I'm treating D10 like a strong stone and leaning on it to attack the middle. Because realistically, I'm not going to get a severe attack against that stone anyway.
Okay. Oh, that's smart. Yeah. Treating just so you're saying it's a leaning attack.
Yeah.
Center's quite large. Can't do much on the left. Okay. Makes sense. And here you don't make the contact play. You don't do the leaning attack, which seems to me here you'd want to.
Yeah. Technically, this is actually better shape and probably what I should have done in the game.
Interesting.
But I opted just to play thick here because there's a future where if he doesn't save the bottom stone now and give up another tempo, I can connect to N4 and it's big. So I'm just being greedy.
Okay. Okay. I find a lot of times if I'm playing my game and it's like he's made a couple errors, I just feel like I'm ahead. I don't mind doing something that's only 90% that could turn into 130%. Yeah.
Yeah. So technically attaching would have been better shape for white. When black forces white into the bamboo, black is still going to have a cutting point at L3. So white's two stones on the bottom are still quite useful because they're looking at white's cut.
Yeah.
And black is helping white to surround the center thickly, which is what I'm doing with J5, but I'm doing it in a far less forceful manner. Because this move is really just trying to get away from the fight and connect to N4 and take the whole bottom, but it's not realistic. So black has F2 at any time and can make use of that bottom stone. So it's really like white shouldn't play this way. This is a mistake.
I don't know if the question that's on my mind is answerable.
Well, we can give it our best.
So I'll just try to lay out the question.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking of a couple of students of mine,
Mhm.
and they have their habits and the old perspective,
Yep.
and I give them the new perspective and say, develop these habits.
Right.
Now they start a game and they go right to the old stuff. Is there something you can say to bring
Mhm.
about playing the new ideas, playing correctly?
Um, I
Doesn't
don't
feel like
know if it's something that you can say. I think that I've had more success just showing them. So what I've done with students like that are a bit stuck in the older ways, right, is I just have them play me and I go, okay, play me how you know, right? And I will show you why the newer ideas are a little more effective. And then through the course of the game, it sort of opens their eyes more because they're trying what they know. And it's just really just trying to get them into this mindset of not conforming and becoming too rigid, staying flexible and thinking, you know? The
stay
old
flexible and think. I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, because you only close yourself off to new possibilities and ideas that could be better by choosing to not look for them, right? And that's what the old habits are, is it's a choice to not look for new things. You know, that's like the biggest takeaway for me from AI is like, yeah, you could know all these old patterns, you could know all these Joseki, you could know all this. It doesn't matter, you know, right? Because at the end of the day, AI could do something you've never seen before and beat you by 60.
Yeah.
And it's because the AI is so flexible. So it's just evaluate the board objectively, identify the problem you're solving, and try to think about the most practical and pragmatic ways to solve these problems.
So the OODA loop.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Yeah, I
know,
found
it's
that powerful when you told me about the OODA loop.
yeah. Shout out to Travoke there. He was the one that told me about the OODA loop.
Okay, making some sense.
Yeah, but here, yeah, J5 was just a bit of
Yeah,
a mistake by me. I don't think it loses much, but it's not the right idea here. Although it looks great now.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you play here, I would say it's clear black has no chance.
For us, yes, I think it's very clear that black has no chance. I think for a
Okay.
weaker player, they might think black can still fight, but those are for the players that are a little less savvy with understanding exchanges.
Okay. So at, I don't know how to say it. When did you see this coming? At what point
I
did
didn't
you
know it
say,
was going to go this way. Basically, I thought once he wedged here and connected, that the game had become pretty good for white. Then when he tries to save the center instead of Atariing out, the double Hane was already on my mind. Because I know the second he played this one, it's like, okay, I can just answer one time and it's going to be Sente. Because there's no way he's going to play this Atari and defend now and give me this.
right?
So at this point, he has to extend, but I don't have to answer because for me, this cut is nothing.
Right.
You know, if I was planning on letting his center go anyway, I'll give up these outside exchanges and then I'll fix the corner or fix the bottom shape. And now I've succeeded in killing the K3 stone and
Okay.
getting the territory. This would be an overall great result for white. So it was pretty much the moment he wedged and then attached at J6, I sort of recognize, okay, these two moves are not the same idea. They're not congruent. They're trying to solve two completely different problems at the same time, and it doesn't
Okay.
work.
Here, he plays away,
Yeah.
and it's like those three black stones on the left. It's a huge area.
Yeah. Like professional players would call this black as busy. I don't think I would see a pro try to save the cutting stones like this. I think they would Atari the one stone first because getting the Panuki on, even if it's not a real Panuki, but getting the capture on the left-hand side for black would be quite big. right? So white's going to connect it.
Yeah.
And then defending the left-hand side is still bigger than I think fighting in the middle. Any way black chooses to defend it is probably okay. And yeah, white can capture the cutting stones, but that's not free. That's going to cost white one move. White's sente, right? And so white has to make that choice. Is the capture worth my sente here? And then for the rest of the game, there's a maintenance cost for that capture. Right, black is going to get a lot of forcing moves to the outside that threaten to revive those 3 stones, and white's going to have to constantly make decisions whether or not white wants to maintain that capture or let the black stones go. It's a big headache for white to take them.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so it's just 2 different ideas. Black is trying to do 2 ideas at the same time. As a result, he becomes very busy. And whenever you're in that situation, it's usually a recipe for disaster if the other opponent only ever has one thing to do at a time. So, yeah.
One big thing I tell my students comes up a lot is get your primary goal defined.
Yeah.
And they always come back with, well, but I want to do 2 things. It's like, well, yeah, that's great, but one of them must be your main idea. You can't do 2 things at once. You can do the main thing and a whole lot of the secondary thing, but it's got to be a secondary idea.
Yeah.
And this kind of does that. It's like, do one thing at a time here, and then don't worry about the other things. Okay, good.
I think, because as you see later in the game, he has to come back and try to save it now.
Yeah.
Which gives white the thickness, and then the cut plays out pretty much as I had shown earlier. Yeah. And all white needs to do on the bottom is make the group alive.
Right.
And then black has to return to the left side, and black is struggling on the left side, make no mistake. But from this whole fight, white has gained almost 10 points of territory plus the thickness. But black has gained some territory too, maybe close to 10 points and some thickness on the right, but the right side is open.
Yeah, wide open. Yeah.
And white is very likely going to be the player ending in sente here because black has the group that needs to live now.
Right.
So just sort of in my brain, this is what I'm thinking at this point is like, okay, whatever result happens on the left is probably acceptable for white as long as white ends in sente. When white can end in gote if black dies.
One other thing that I notice you say consistently, and I've noticed all pros do this. I'm not saying you're a pro, but pros, I see them do it all the time, and I see you do it all the time. I would say, oh, game over. And you would say, and now white has a really excellent chance. And that's one thing I need to keep in mind is it's not over. It's just stay calm.
Right.
Win the one game.
Right. It's objectively winning, but it's, objectively won in the hands of subjective playing. You have to understand like just the psychology of humans, right? Winning a one game is very difficult.
Yeah.
But if you can recognize you're in the lead and then adjust accordingly the right way, you can sort of navigate the waters to a victory without too much effort. Like here, it doesn't require a lot of reading for white. Like basically, I'm just looking for how can I get sente out of this whole position to break the right side. Black answered with this weird Atari to try to break at the corner. And I just examine, okay, I have profit. Keep him busy. I got more profit. Keep him busy. And here black is constantly starting fires on the left side, so I haven't had the time to leave yet, but neither has he.
And he's so weak, you don't need to play on the right. You just keep pressing.
Yeah, I just keep getting the profit black is giving while black tries to put his own fire out. But now this fight on the left is reducing the right side for me. So even my need to spend a move there and go
it's happening naturally.
Yeah, and this is the best case scenario for white, right? When your opponent struggles too hard and you can just naturally reduce everything. And that's why I'm building the wall the way that I am. Yeah, black can cut at J15, but I'm not worried about the cut. The corner's alive, and as long as I have a strong group, I can jump to the right side. destroy his whole potential, and the game is effectively over. Black's not going to make enough territory on the top to win. So
in a game you played recently against your professional teacher, you didn't go for a killing move. And amateurs just love to go, oh, I'm going to go do the killing move. And here too, you're like, no, I don't need to kill the group. Let me just continue getting good and strong and let him live.
Yep. That's because killing is much harder than living. And usually it requires you to overextend, which gives the opponent chances. If I don't need to kill something, I usually won't. And maybe that's to my detriment, because I think that's the big difference between me and stronger Asian players and a lot of other players stronger than me in general, is if they're confident in it, they'll go for the kill. And oftentimes they're successful. But for me, whenever I've tried to do that, I die or I get cut apart, they live, and then I just don't have positive results with it. So I prefer to make them give me what I want by threatening their life and death, which is what I did here. I want to reduce the right. Hey, help me reduce your right. And then that's pretty much what happens. Now he still has to live. And the top side was the other big place, so I broke that. Somebody might jump in on the right directly. I'm starting here because if I get points on the top, the right side isn't enough.
Yeah. All natural stuff. You walked in so easily here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that was very sneaky, that N2 descent. I'd been looking at that for a while.
And how do you mean that it's sneaky?
So normally you would expect, like, okay, yeah, M2, M1 cut, no brainer. Black is gonna just snap the white stone off like how Black does in the game. But actually, to cut it N4 is kind of a self-Atari exchange. In a lot of cases, Black ends up losing liberties.
Shortage of liberties?
Yeah, it creates a situation where it's almost like Black played self-Atari at the very end in Tawari. So it's this cut is very often a mistake, actually. What would have been easier for Black would be answering N2 with Atari at 05. Yeah. Yeah. And that would have been much better shape. But here we sort of tricked them into burning more liberties, so that later when I play the P9 shoulder hit, I have a little bit more Aji to work with. It was a sneaky little detail. It was all sort of preparation. So
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, he tries to kill, but ultimately he's not really successful.
This surprised me a little bit. Because you are now in a sea of Black, and you're saying, oh, I'll just go live in there.
Yep.
Now, you've done this a number of times, like back when we used to play Crazy Stone 6-Dan. You just come into an area where it's like, well, look, there's like 6 different things I can do. There's no chance of me dying. So I guess we're talking about the weakness of Black 1, the weakness of the whole 2 area.
Yeah,
the whole 3 thing that's going on.
Yeah, there's space to get a base on the right still somehow. Yeah, there's like 4 positive things in this area that blocking will get for white.
This is really hard for weaker players. They don't like, but I don't know what to do. And I keep telling them, why? It's just, there's stuff there.
Yeah.
That's
like
it.
There's stuff there. If you don't know what to do, attach.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I did, right? Q9 attach. It looks scary, but look, we're almost at an eye already.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward. Okay, good. Yeah, I found myself getting a lot out of you playing that 5-Dan, and it was good for me to ask questions, and perhaps other people got stuff too. Okay, Chris, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Viewers, as always, feel free to make comments, ask questions, and tell us what content you would like. Okay, bye.